Alright guys, we're going to do a little bottom bouncer 101 here, and I got a couple buddies with me today that haven't done this, and bottom bouncing is a really effective way to catch lots of walleyes, especially in the late summer. We're here in August on Lake of the Woods, and I'm just going to share with you a few tips and tricks, and we'll see if we can go catch some fish. Okay, so one of the key things is like the equipment that really works good for me. I like to use bait casting equipment, and one neat trick that I've learned over the years, especially with folks that haven't done bottom bouncing a lot, is to use yourself a line counter reel. And the reason you do that is because when you get your bait set at the correct depth, the boat driver pulls you up and down the brakes, and with a line counter you keep the same amount of line out all the time. It really gives you a lot less snags. On the business end, with a bottom bouncer here, this is a Northland rock runner. I like to use 1.5 ounces. I think 1.5 ounces is probably the most versatile weight size, but be sure to use a heavy enough bottom bouncer. I'll go up to 3 ounces. Kind of my rule of thumb for weights on bottom bouncers are 1 ounce for less than 10 feet. From 10 to 25 feet, I like 1.5 ounces. 2 ounces from 20 to 25 to 35. Anything over 35 feet, I like to use a 3 ounce. And the reason we want to use those heavier bottom bouncers is because it keeps you from getting snagged. So you never want your bottom bouncer to lay down like this. You want it to have enough weight so your line goes in at a 45-degree angle, and your bouncer is about a 45-degree angle too. So use a heavier bottom bouncer and it'll keep you out of the snags a lot. Another thing, we're fishing Lake of the Woods here, and there's rocks all over the place, obviously. Another thing you can do to eliminate snags is to shorten up your leader length. So if you think about it, the shorter your leader is, the less snags you're going to get. The longer your leader is, the more opportunity it has to fall down, get into the rocks, and get snagged up. So that's kind of on the business end. Lake of the Woods, my favorite all-time color on Lake of the Woods is this one right here. This is a bait fish image, golden shiner. The other thing that I really like to do is when I tie my own rigs a lot of times, and I like to make a perch pattern in my beads. So I like to have some greens and some reds and some oranges, and that's kind of it. That rig has caught me a lot of fish up here. The last part is one of the most important parts. Let me grab what I like to use for bait here. Night crawlers work good. Minnows work good, leeches work good. But I found one of my favorite things to use is our impulse rig and leech. And I think one of the reasons it works so good, because of the profile of it. You see how nice and flat that is? It's almost like a night crawler when a night crawler lays out. A night crawler is not perfectly round. Sometimes when it's dying, it gets flatter. And I simply rig it. I like a 2-hook harness, but I simply rig it through the sucker on the front, and then put the back hook as far back as it'll go, just like that. Man, that's been deadly for me. What I like to do is I always put my troll motor, when I'm bottom bouncing, I always put it on continuous, so it's always moving. Keeps us from getting snagged a lot, and then we'll adjust our speed accordingly. A lot of times I just will lay it in the water like this and look and see if the blade is spinning. I like it to spin really slow. Sometimes having a pause in there, because those fish will chase that bait a lot, and when the pause comes is when you're going to get bit. But ideally I like to stay between 0.8 and 1.2 mile an hour. So I think I'm going to start at 27 feet, and you start at like 30, and we'll see what we can catch from there. So what you do there, this feels like a little one, but what we do is when you get that bite, oh yeah, this one's going to be good on shore lunch. Perfect shore luncher, Kyle.
One on board.
Ooh, he ate it too. That's good when they get it that far down.
What are you using there?
They get it that far down in there. What's that?
So what are you using there?
Oh, I got that impulse leech on. You got a leech or a live night crawler? All right, we're gonna have a little shore lunch, a little Northland fun shore lunch, so I'm gonna put him in the box. One of the other things, so we're coming up the break now. We're about 17 feet. So I'll bring us up into about 16, 17, and then back out to 18. We'll kind of look on that edge. Got my buddy Chip over there. He's fishing in the deeper water in 18 to 19 feet. So once we dial him in, we'll get him going. One of the cool things that I like to do if I see a fish on the depth finder, I'll actually take my rod and I'll snap it a couple times to get it stopped and going. But most of the other time, I don't really do much. I'm just kind of holding it. I had a buddy one time told me that. He says walleyes aren't acrobats, so don't try to pull it away from them all the time. You know, you don't need to snap it a lot because that blade's always spinning. But I will impart some action into it if I see some fish on the screen. So if you see me start jigging a little bit, jig it, or you could just watch the depth finder back there too. Because we're running over a couple fish right now. Hey, if you liked what you saw today in the video, be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel in the Northland Fisherman, as well as follow us on Facebook. There's lots of great tips for live to fish and devoted to fish anglers like you and I.